Okay, everybody, here we go. It's me, Gregory Mannarino, Thursday, March 16th, 2023. People, just when you believe, just when you think that things cannot get any more freaking insane, well, they just did. Let's talk about this. So, we just found out that the Federal Reserve, sit down for this one, is about to pump $2 trillion into the banking system. You heard that right. $2 trillion into the banking system. Meanwhile, this is where it gets even more bizarre. Janet Yellen, Yellenstein, U.S. Treasury Secretary, she's about to tell Congress that the banking system is sound. Well, let's see. Let's put this together. The banking system is sound, but we need to pump, the Federal Reserve needs to pump $2 trillion into it? Are you freaking kidding me? Let me ask you. Okay, so Janet Yellen is about to go before Congress and tell our loving, caring representatives that the banking system is sound. How many of our so-called representatives are going to say, okay, Janet, can you explain to us why the Federal Reserve needs to pump $2 trillion into the banking system if it's so sound? That question will not be posed. I would be willing to bet a large sum that not a single representative is going to ask her that question again. This is how bizarre this system is. Now, here's another thing I want to show you. I'm sitting here this morning, I'm flipping through the financial channels, and they're all talking about liquidity. Liquidity, people. Liquidity's drying up. Liquidity. Okay, duh. I think you and I have been so far ahead of the curve on this. Obviously, there's not enough liquidity in the system because the Federal Reserve is going to pump. I'm going to say this. At least now we know for a fact it's $2 trillion. I believe it's going to be way more than $2 trillion. I'm going to let you in on another secret here. No matter what they pump into the system, it's not going to be enough, okay? It's not going to be enough. $2 trillion could be $10 trillion. It won't make a difference. Liquidity is drying up. Don't take my word for it. Flip through the channels, Bloomberg, Fox Business, CNBC, and they're all going to say liquidity. Make it up. Make any of this stuff up. It's impossible to do. So on the back of the, there's a few other things going on that you need to know about. So these regional banks that just got loans from the Federal Reserve, we watched them get bid up pretty good over the last couple of days. Well, they're all falling. Do you know why they're falling? I'm going to give you one guess as to why they're falling. Think about it. Why would the regional banks be falling? Oh, yes, exactly. They're now going up for sale, as you and I would have expected. These regional banks, it appears, are now going to be going up for sale. That means, again, what you and I already knew, and we talked about it right here on this blog first before anybody else. These regional banks are going to be absorbed into the larger banks, the Wall Street mega banks, and they're going to get these banks at fire sale prices here. Look, it's amazing, really, if you think about it. The stuff that we discuss here on this blog, how it just miraculously comes to light here. See, you and I, we're not stupid. We're able to put together the most likely scenarios moving forward or what's coming down the pike only because we realize, again, who the enemy is, central banks. We know what their goals are, what their plans are, and that's it. It's just too simple. So now let's move forward a little bit here. On the economic front, so new jobless claims for last week came in better than expected. Imagine my shock. 192,000. This number has no bearing on reality whatsoever here. So it appears, honestly, that the entire worldwide banking system is going to get a bailout here yet again. I mean, just here in the United States alone, I want you to think about this again because this number is mind-blowing. $2 trillion from the Federal Reserve. Where's this cash coming from? Do they just have a war chest somewhere, or do they have to just create it magically out of thin air by adding digits to a screen? Click, 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 click. That's exactly what they're going to do. But you see, what you're not going to hear anywhere, except maybe right here, is you cannot pump $2 trillion into the banking system here in the United States alone and bail out banks around the world here. Okay, that's what the Swiss National Bank is doing here with regard to Credit Suisse here, whose stock is now getting bid higher, erasing all the losses from yesterday. So you can't pump this kind of cash into the system without there being a major ripple effect, and that is inflation. Inflation is going to surge higher. Imagine my shock. Imagine your shock. What have we discussed right here over and over and over and over again, that inflation is going to continue to rise? That's exactly what's going to happen. Oh, with regard to that, we're going to hear from the European Central Bank probably within minutes of this video as to what the European Central Bank is going to do with raising rates. I believe they're going to raise rates here. It's going to be, again, they have to, in my view. I could be wrong, but we'll see. I think they're going to raise rates a fraction, as will the Federal Reserve. Next week, we're going to get a 25 basis point hike. But meanwhile, they're pumping the system with trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to just try to prop up these zombie organizations. Look, these banks here, do you think, honestly, maybe we were lied to, too big to fail, and there will never be another bailout? Well, this bailout that we're seeing now is much bigger than the last one. Much bigger. Okay, but where's the outcry? Where are the people in the streets? They're nowhere. Imagine my shock here too, people. You can't make this stuff out. But I want to hear from you on this. I want you to imagine, just for a nanosecond, what I'm about to tell you. So the creature, this is Janet Yellen. Imagine me with a bowl haircut. Okay, she's going to appear before Congress to tell. Again, they have to be told, because Janet Yellen is an authority figure. They do the same thing over and over again. They float these things out. So they're going to float out Yellen to tell the Senate, the U.S. Senate, that the banking system is sound, while at the same time, the Federal Reserve is going to pump $2 trillion into the banking system. You can't make it up. It's impossible to do. Look at me, I'm drooling all over the place. Unbelievable. Liquidity, people, liquidity is drying up, and they know it. Henceforth, why? They're going to pump the system full of more cash. And we're going to see how this plays out here. As you can see from the MMRI, it is coming down. So what the market believes, although we still remain in the high risk zone, start focusing on the colors. The MMRI has dropped. The MMRI is 100% true here, what it's saying. The banking system is getting a bailout here. Trillions of dollars. That means that risk in the market is dropping. Risk in the market is dropping, although it still remains in a high risk zone. The MMRI, listen to it, okay? When I was growing up and I started getting into hot rods and racing cars, and I used to look at the gauges, and sometimes the gauges didn't make sense to me. My father was a racer as well. He used to say, Greg, always believe the gauges. Oh, so if the oil pressure gauge goes to 0, but you hear the engine still running, believe the gauge is telling you the right thing. Okay. Here, the MMRI is saying that risk in the market is dropping because they're adding liquidity to the system. They're pumping liquidity into the system that remains illiquid no matter what they do. We are living in the biggest freak show that has ever been thrust upon the people of the world in the history of the world. A global economy which is done. Heroin being pumped into the system in the form of liquidity. You see, they can't say cash, they can't say bailout, but that's what this is, people. I just, my mind literally cannot get around this. $2 trillion is about to be pumped into the banking system. Why is there no revolt? Why are people not taking to the streets? Why are people not angry over this? Where's their bailout? People are getting destroyed. Destroyed! I tell you, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And what do you think about this? I want to hear from you yet again. Put this into perspective for yourself for a moment. So A bunch of smaller regional banks, I named them for you. I threw out the paper a few days ago when we watched the regional banks get bid higher, the ones that just got Fed loans. Now, I want you to think about this. These institutions are going up for sale. They're going up for sale. Henceforth, why are you seeing these regional banks drop this morning? They're going on sale so the mega banks can scoop them up and scoop up all their assets. People, are you flaming, burning mad like Greg Mannarino is? I am angry. I'll tell you. I want to know, really, how many of you could make this stuff up if you tried to? How many of you believe that you are creative enough to make any of this stuff up? It's impossible to do. I couldn't make it up, but we knew this was going to happen. We spoke about it right here, how there's a consolidation of the banking system going on. Nothing is what it appears to be. When you have a single mainstream media outlet or some freak like Janet Yellen getting floated out telling people how the banking system is strong, meanwhile it's getting a $2 trillion bailout here in the United States alone, you know what they're telling you is a complete, utter, total distortion of the truth. It's a complete lie. It's a complete lie. We live in an environment of lies to the highest possible order. And nothing gets under Greg Mannarino's skin more than this charade, this parade of lies. Oh, I'm telling you, my blood pressure must be in the stratosphere right now. All right, people, I'm going to let you all go, but I do want to hear from you. We will talk later at my live stream. About more stuff that's going on, the European Central Bank, what they're going to do here, what they probably just did. I don't know if they kept rates flat or they raised rates. I'm going to say they probably nudged rates higher, but I guess we'll find out later. All right, I love all of you so much, people. We need each other more than ever, We got each other's backs, okay? I'll see you later for the live stream, 1:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Have your questions ready for me. Pay attention to what's going on because we're going to cover all of this later. All right, I'll see you then.